Hello, my name is Pamela Ann Marroquin Herrera. I am completing this personal narrative as an assignment for a course that I'm taking at Texas Tech University. I am very proud and honored to be part of the student body at Texas Tech University. As a young child, my parents both desired to have a child complete their education at a university. I am honored to say that I have, even at my age, decided to continue my education, and here in the near future will complete my bachelor's degree in science as a health professional and a nutritionist. My story begins when I was born in Dimmitt many years ago. The small town girl was very active. I was very tomboyish, I guess I could say, and my friends out there would say that they would remember that I loved playing football with the boys, and I did the basketball and the cross country and the cheerleading. But I believe that my story begins once I moved away from Dimmitt, Texas. As a young adult, I moved to Owatonna, Minnesota. At age 21, I was married and started a family. And must have been about, I believe my children were 3 or so, my 2 older girls, when I decided to continue my education. I went to a technical college nearby. It was Faribault, Minnesota, where I completed my secretarial diploma. After that, 1996, I started working for an insurance firm, Federated Insurance, and was there employed for 5 years, where I gained a lot of my administrative skills and learned a lot and really enjoyed that employment at that time. As I was still a young mom and continuing to grow with my family, I decided to further my education as well as being in the ministry at the time. My ministry actually was an outreach there in Owatonna, Minnesota as well, where I connected with many migrants that would come work, and was also interpreting for them, and ultimately became a medical Spanish interpreter, where I was able to bridge the language barrier between the physicians and the patients. And that is also part of my life where I believe that many chapters in my book inspire me, myself, as I have been able to capture such learning skills and life skills with connecting and weaving threads with different people of all walks of life. I had 5 children, and I continued my education part-time along the way as I worked as a medical interpreter, and also ended up working as a director of a free clinic there in Steele County. This was also a very growing and learning time, and those threads that I was weaving, I had no idea at the time actually that I was creating the book and the story of my life that has led me to where I am here at this point today. I would go on to complete my associate's degree at Riverland Community College in Owatonna, Minnesota, and Austin, Minnesota, where I had the passion to continue the medical pathway and the nursing pathway, due to the fact that I was not only connecting with patients and connecting the language barrier with the physicians, but I was also developing friendships and very educational peer groups with nurses and doctors, where I was inspired to continue my education in the medical field. I started a nursing program in Minnesota, and at the time was very focused on to where I was going as a director of a free clinic and the medical pathway. Unfortunately, though, as we all know, with discontinued and things that happen in life, we had a status change as a family, and I decided then to move back home to Texas. I brought my children to Lubbock, Texas, and had started off planning to attend a nursing program here in Lubbock, Texas. I found a school and I was being enrolled, and I thought that my direction was continuing that pathway. What is really interesting is that as I was learning the area in Lubbock, and my girls and I were riding into town, we passed Texas Tech. It was off to my left, and I just glanced, and I thought, I wonder how difficult it would be for me just to get transferred there, and maybe other doors would open up. And my girls were looking at me with wide eyes, and we said, you know what, let's stop. And we did. We stopped, and I talked to someone at the office. And from there, it was just happening. I put my application in. It was over the Christmas holiday break, and so I had to wait over the New Year. And when I got the acceptance letter in the mail, I'll tell you what, without a shadow or a doubt in my mind, I immediately knew that that's where I needed to be, that that door was open for a reason. I decided to call the nursing school, and I told them I had a change of plans, that I was going to continue my education at Texas Tech. I was received very well at Texas Tech. I had counselors and people helping me with the transferring from Minnesota and developing a new plan. It was different. I would discontinue the nursing pathway for the moment, and I would take a different direction, earning my bachelor's degree with nutrition and as a health professional. At first it was different, a different thought, a different feeling, because of the passion that I had inside of me to work as a nurse or a midwife or in that medical field alongside the doctors and the nurses. But for a second, I thought about it and figured that as we connect and as I'm threading these weeds, it could lead to other things. It could lead to bigger things. It could lead to other connections. And so now I'm a junior at Texas Tech, and I will graduate pretty soon. And I am also a substitute teacher in Dimmitt, Texas, and still raising my children. And I have to give recognition to my parents, Rodolfo Marroquin and Graciela Garcia, as strong people, as people that don't give up, as people that shake things off when negative things happen or life happens, when those discontinuities happen. They have both taught me that you lift your head up, you have faith in where you're going and what you're going to do, and you focus on what you want in life and what matters most. Family first. And making sure that the faith in God and the faith in our provider is always there. Also that everything happens for a reason. And my parents taught me that I can be strong enough to accomplish anything that I put my mind to. And that if I'm a determined person, and by the way, I am very stubborn, I can accomplish what I want in life. Things could try to drag you down. Sometimes people don't understand your story. But what matters most is that you understand your story, and that you know that you're writing chapters every day, that you're connecting with people every day, that you're making a difference one way or another to touch lives of all walks, that you do not have bias or that you're a prejudiced person, but that you accept that everyone has the right to decide how they want to live and how they want to write their chapters. For me, I decided to write my chapters in my storybook by continuing my education because it's very important to me, and it always has been. Unfortunately, my life and my status changes, and my parents' life and their status changes, did some effect on the following generations and their children, as far as maybe not finishing when we should have, or maybe not continuing at the right time, or like everyone else. But I decided in my life that even though those curves were thrown at me at times, that I was strong enough and capable enough to determine what I wanted, where I want to go, what I want to do. And so my future plans are, as I graduate from Texas Tech, to be employed at a nearby hospital as a health professional, as a nutritionalist, And I also have plans that, or one of my goals would be to continue my education after a couple of years of employment, touching lives and creating new threads and weaving new connections. I would end up probably in some kind of medical pathway again, and I ultimately, if time allows, would like to have experience as a midwife. And I bring that up because as I worked as a medical interpreter for 10 years in Owatonna, Minnesota and those surrounding areas, I worked alongside many OB patients. My life story and some of the chapters in my book are about how I was alongside many women who gave birth. I was able to experience twins being born. I was able to be alongside physicians as they had C-sections. I was alongside women who had very hard labors and even unfortunate deaths. I saw lives that were on the line sometimes. One comes to mind at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Very, very tragic and scary event that I was able to experience. And just being there for people and caring and developing those skills of empathy and learning through those experiences. We read in our text that experiences are the least factor, and it's true. What matters most is the determination and the now, the current, what we're doing, your goals, where we're going. However, those chapters do have those experiences weaved in them that create in us the person that we are today and the people that we need to be in our society to make it what it should be, to make it better, to grow and to learn, and to pass those things on to the future generations, our children, making them strong leaders, building that work ethic in our children. And as we grow and as we learn and as our life changes along the line and as our experience changes along the line, we continue to write a story. So as I think about my life and my story in ministry, working alongside a Mayo Clinic, as a medical director, as a ministry going to Mexico, working alongside immigrants and working alongside women who had a language barrier, could not speak English at all, had no family, no mothers there when they were delivering their baby. All these experiences I collect and put together in my story, in my book. And being at Texas Tech is not always easy for me. As a single parent now, as a substitute teacher in Dimmitt, Texas, this small town girl, but I do know that the wisdom and the knowledge that I have picked up along my life, working along professionals, beside professionals, family members, I honor all my family members, Garcia, Marroquines, everybody as a whole, because they all teach me something every day. I have to lift up one aunt, Rosalinda Marroquin, who always tells me that the best decision that she ever made in her life was to complete her education. And knowing that I have that support, knowing that I have that encouragement, makes a difference in my life every day. And most of all, that's the same encouragement that I give my children as they're in adulthood now, some of them, and a few of them still in elementary school. Those qualities and characteristics that have been passed on to me through instructors and through parents and through reading life books or whatever it is, I pass that on because I want my children to know that life will throw curves. You will have disappointments. But what matters most is that you stand up, hold your head up high, and seek that wisdom and that knowledge from counselors, from teachers, from family members, and continue your education. Education is the key. Some kind of ridicule me a little bit because I'm continuing my bachelor's degree at my age. And I'm not going to tell you my age at this point, but I want to say that it's never too late. If you desire to continue your education, it doesn't matter how old you are, do it, because you can make a difference. You can weave connections, and you can touch lives and make a difference in our society today. Thank you very much. God bless.